In Glen Rose, Texas, they've got a river running through town called the Paluxy River. Back in 1908, the river flooded, ripped off a 2-foot layer of limestone and moved it 20 miles downstream. Underneath was another layer of limestone, so it's no big deal. But that layer underneath had contained hundreds of dinosaur footprints. Roland Bird was in charge of the group of guys digging out the tracks, and he reported there were 15 to 20 inch long, clearly defined human footprints with the dinosaur track. We sell castings of one of the human tracks. It's a size 24. The man's stride between steps was about 6 or 7 feet. I would rip my britches every time trying to do that. One of the best human tracks still had the dermal ridges, like the fingerprints on the toes. You could see them, they were extremely clear for the first few months. They sawed one of the tracks across the toes. Looking at it endways, you could see there were depressions where the toes had squeezed the mud down, distorting the lamination lines. These are not carved in, they're not erosion marks, they're compression prints, quite obviously. This guy said, finding dinosaur and human footprints together would counter evidence that humans evolved long after dinosaurs. I agree. And would back up the claim that all species, including man, were created at one time. I agree. It sure would.
Chicxulub crater is one of the largest impact craters on Earth, and it's the only one linked to a mass extinction. In secular literature and movies, textbooks, magazines, and the media, the most popular explanation for the dinosaur extinction is an asteroid impact. The crater's diameter is approximately 110 miles, which is large enough for a 6-mile wide asteroid or meteorite to have caused it. Now, there are expected criteria that have to be met for identifying a meteorite impact, and they're not present at the Chicxulub site. High pressure and deformed minerals are, but not enough of the materials that would be needed to justify a meteorite impact are present there at the impact crater. Iridium is a chemical element abundant in meteorites and a primary marker of an impact event, but few traces are identified in the cores of the 2 drilled wells at the site. The ejecta material across the Chicxulub site contains little to no iridium. There is a layer of iridium stretching across the globe that separates the Cretaceous and Paleogene geologic layers, and so below the KT boundary, this layer of iridium is dinosaurs, and above that layer you don't find dinosaurs, and this is a global pattern. It does make sense because the amount of iridium that you find in the layer of geologic strata above the dinosaur fossils, that an asteroid impact would have created a large cloud of iridium, and so the extinction of the dinosaurs could be explained by the asteroid impact. But at the Chicxulub crater site specifically, it seems to have been much smaller than commonly claimed as far as the impact, creating a mere fraction of the postulated effects, and it's entirely possible that there was never an impact at Chicxulub in the first place. All of the data can have non-impact explanation.
When we visit dinosaur museums, they all have some sort of display of dinosaur bones as a mixture of herbivores and carnivores, all interred in a massive graveyard. Similar sites can be found in various places worldwide, including Wyoming, Montana, Madagascar, Spain, and China. This pattern of dinosaur fossils buried together is not unique and is present in multiple locations. What caused this worldwide graveyard? Why does it seem like these dinosaurs all died at the same time in a similar manner?
It appears that the animals were the victims of a huge flood.
These animals died trying to cross the river in flood.
First of all, it was buried in a flooding event.
Buried, very, very rapidly. In a flash flood.
Tried to cross the river in flood, and that a lot of these animals drowned.
Fossilized dinosaur bones are often found in sediment created by rain or flood.
Leo's body had been submerged underwater.
It's quite obvious that entire ecosystems were buried here during Noah's flood. The asteroid theory takes the leading place in museums today. But have you considered how this single event could explain the simultaneous extinction of all dinosaurs around the world? How could a single asteroid falling well over 1,000 miles away from the center of this area bury dinosaurs across 14 US states under hundreds of feet of mud, sand, and volcanic?
A new study shows a second sizable asteroid might have smacked into the Earth around the same time as the asteroid that created the Chicxulub crater in the Yucatan Peninsula, which supposedly caused the dinosaurs to go extinct, which is suggesting that a multitude of asteroids striking the Earth could have caused the extinction. Other dates that have been extracted from the sediments at the Chicxulub impact crater site show that the crater was formed before the mass extinction 65 million years ago. Other researchers found that all 52 species of dinosaurs present in sediments below the impact layer were still present in layers above, and others say that the impact was much smaller than commonly claimed, or that there was never an impact at Chicxulub at all. They also suggest that volcanic eruptions in India may have caused the extinction.
This sudden drastic change in climate likely led to the extinction of a majority of life on Earth, including our colossal friends, the dinosaurs. In 1980, physicist Luis Alvarez and his geologist son Walter proposed this theory, and it has since been supported by substantial evidence, including the discovery of the Chicxulub crater in Mexico. So an asteroid might have turned the lights off for dinosaurs, but is there more to the story? The second theory takes us from outer space to the fiery depths of our own planet. This hypothesis, known as the volcanic eruption theory, suggests that massive volcanic eruptions were the catalyst for the dinosaurs' demise.
Fury of volcanic activity. The Deccan Traps in present-day India are a prime example of massive volcanic eruptions that spewed copious amounts of lava and gases into the atmosphere during the late Cretaceous period. About 66 million years ago, the massive volcanic eruption buried much of the Indian subcontinent under more than 11,000 feet of basalt and poured poisonous gases into the atmosphere. The gases released would have led to an atmospheric haze, cooling temperatures, and disrupting ecosystems. This volcanic hypothesis is complemented by evidence of increased volcanic activity around the same time as the extinction event. Geologists backing the volcanic theory point to the fact that there have been many other mass extinctions in the last 500 million years, and many of them coincide with large volcanic outpourings from the massive volcanoes known as flood basalts or large igneous provinces.
Imagine, if you will, colossal eruptions belching out vast quantities of lava, ash, and gases for thousands of years. These cataclysmic events would have drastically altered the Earth's climate and atmosphere. The volcanic gases, particularly sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide, would have created a volcanic winter, causing temperatures to plummet. Simultaneously, the carbon dioxide would have led to a long-term warming of the planet, creating a greenhouse effect. This sudden drop, followed by a slow rise in temperatures, would have led to extreme climatic instability. Such harsh and fluctuating conditions would have been too much for the dinosaurs to adapt to, leading to their eventual extinction. Could the Earth's own fury have spelled the end for the dinosaurs, or is there another piece to this puzzle? Our final theory doesn't rely on a single cataclysmic event, but rather a slow, relentless change.
Some experts propose that the dinosaurs met their fate through a more gradual shift in climate. The world was undergoing significant changes during the late Cretaceous, with changing sea levels, shifting continents, and alterations in sea currents. These changes may have resulted in fluctuating temperatures, dwindling food sources, and habitat loss, putting immense pressure on dinosaur populations. Over an extended period, these factors could have led to a gradual decline and eventual collapse of the ecosystems that sustained these colossal creatures. Recent scientific investigations have also delved into the realm of microbial threats. Some researchers speculate that a virulent disease or a series of epidemics could have ravaged dinosaur populations, exploiting their large sizes and perhaps even leading to a domino effect of extinction. The suddenness of the decline might then be attributed to the swift spread of these diseases across various species and ecosystems. This is known as the theory of gradualism. Some suggest biological changes brought about by changes in their evolution made the animals less competitive with other organisms, including mammals.
The gradual climate change theory suggests that dinosaurs were gradually wiped out by consistent changes in the Earth's climate and environment. Over millions of years, subtle shifts in temperature, sea levels, and vegetation could have created conditions unfavorable for these giant creatures. So, could it be that the dinosaurs simply couldn't keep up with the pace of change? The truth is, we may never know for sure.
Initially, the Bible was used as a textbook, prayer was allowed in schools, and biblical principles of morality were taught to the students in the public education system. Today, we see that biblical Christianity has been kicked out of the public schools and has been replaced by the religion of secular humanism. John Dewey, one of the founders of the modern public education system, was a secular humanist, and he used his religious ideals to frame the public school system we know today. John Dewey was also a signatory on the first Humanist Manifesto. In the Humanist Manifesto, we read things like, "The universe is self-existent and was not created. That man is the result of a process of natural chance occurrences over time."
Religious studies are painfully lacking. In fact, religious studies are almost non-existent in the Western world in the public school system. Some would say this is a good thing, as it separates the church and state. But is it really a bad thing to teach children how to better understand their fellow man, or to better understand God, or how to learn our morals or where they came from? According to statistics, there are well over 3 separate belief systems in the US alone. Freedom of speech and expression works both ways. Arguing that creationism is forcing religion on children is like saying a history class on World War II is forcing fascism onto our children. It's important for our children to know and understand these views. Unfortunately, there's a sizable amount of people that believe that creationism and evolution can coexist, that God made evolution happen. Even the Pope says that faith and evolution can coexist. And that's exactly why the Pope is really Satan, just another ploy by the Catholic Church to indoctrinate young minds into believing the lie of evolution. Like it or not, creationism dominated human belief for centuries. Even if you don't believe it now, our ancestors did. Why should we skip over an important part of human history just because many people don't agree with it?
Parents more control over their child's education.
I don't believe personally that when we take our child to public school, and all of mine went to public school, that you just turn over all of your rights and privileges as a parent to the school. You should have a right in what's being taught, have a say-so, be able to have electives as you see fit.
The bill gives high schoolers the option to take religion.
We can't teach about creationism, but we can talk about the inalienable rights given to us by the Creator in our founding documents.
The United States is an increasingly diverse religious community. Bible literacy or religious history classes are great and provide lots of opportunities for students to explore, but this bill doesn't really provide for that sort of comparative history class.
The bill specifically says the course may not encourage the acceptance of any particular religion, but it also lists the Christian Bible as an example of literary works.
I think it's critical for both the protection of the interests of religion and the protection of the interests of the government to keep the two as far apart and as unentangled as possible.
Humanism is a religion and as such should not be taught in schools under the current standards of curriculum of science in the public schools is restricted to teaching only naturalistic explanations for the origin and history of life on Earth, and this is biased against any deistic religion and therefore is promoting the humanist religion above any other religion that does not hold this philosophy, making atheism the only religion protected by law in this country. Ever since the Origin of Species, written by Charles Darwin, it's been an ingenious strategy that humanists have employed for years now to infiltrate and control the so-called public education system, which is supposed to be neutral, and impose their religion as science to convert millions to their own faith position, and mostly at the expense of their opposition, which would be Christians that believe in creation but are paying taxes to support a humanist religion to be taught in the public school system, and to exclude any supernatural explanations for scientific phenomena occurring in the natural. Today, humanist organizations have control over the education system and an agenda to keep creationism out of the schools. This is not a conspiracy. This is the open declaration of their mission and their goals that they have stated clearly time and time again.
According to the Bible, the people lived to be over 900 years old. Read Genesis 5. It could not be more clear. Adam was 930 when he died. The biggest pterosaur flying over the inland sea is a pteranodon. Like all reptiles, it grows throughout its life. You know, reptiles grow all their life. Sharks aren't the only animal that keeps growing. Lizards, snakes, amphibians, and coral. These are called indeterminate growers. They never stop. So the dinosaurs were simply big lizards that lived with Adam and Eve, because that was the time when people are living to be 900. I think we could assume things were different and everything was living much longer. After the flood, lifespans dropped off to 400, then 200, then 100. So I think some of the larger species of dinosaurs simply died out in the new climate. Dinosaurs had two problems. One, they died because of climate change. Two, people hunted them. But back in those days, they called them dragons. The Bible talks about dragons, though, quite a bit. It says the poison of dragons, that breaks the head of the dragons. Dragons mentioned 34 times in the Bible. Dragons are mentioned in all ancient cultures. The Chinese zodiac has 12 animals on there. Why is this one a dragon mixed in with 11 animals that are still around today? Could it be when they made up their zodiac, they were all 12 still alive? Alexander the Great reported his soldiers were scared by dragons when they conquered part of India in 300 BC. There's a Roman mosaic from about the time of Christ, 2nd century AD, showing two long-necked dragons fighting. There's a brass carving in England in a church. They keep it under a rug up at the front of the church. You have to know where you're going and specifically ask when they give you the tour of this ancient church, could you pull that rug back? I'd like to see the dragon. Okay. And they'll show you the two long-necked dragons. There's dinosaurs on ancient artwork and pottery all over the world. We got a whole section of our museum here at Dinosaur Adventureland with cool stuff showing dinosaurs living with man. The walls of the ancient city of Babylon, built about 600 BC, show lions built right into the brickwork and dragons. Recently, they just found unfossilized soft dinosaur tissue. Soft dinosaur tissue. So now the brilliant scientists are trying to figure out how could tissue stay soft for 70 million years? The thought will never cross their brain to question that maybe it's not 70 million years old. I mean, that thought will never enter their head, okay? We've got 8 of these stones in Pensacola, Florida. It's the largest collection in America, I believe. Why would they put circles on the side of the dinosaurs? Well, nobody ever found dinosaur skin until about 20 years ago, when fossilized dinosaur skin was found. It's very interesting. The dinosaur skin has circle patterns on it. They had to see a live one to know to put that on the stones, because you couldn't tell that from the bones. This guy's cutting the head off a dragon. There's a guy riding one. This guy says nobody's ever seen a dinosaur. Well, why did they put them on their cave paintings? Why did they put them on ancient pottery? Why do we see so many legends of dragon?
Leo's body had been submerged underwater, then covered by silt.
So what we think was going on here is that this entire area was flooded out.
This leading book that catalogs most of the largest bone beds in the world admits that most of them were laid down by watery catastrophes. When looking at the largest of these dinosaur bone beds in Canada, secular scientists widely admit they were formed by dramatic high-speed water events. Let's not forget the most obvious clue about dinosaur extinction. They're all buried in sedimentary rock. There may be ash from volcanoes mixed in, but most dinosaur fossils have to be chiseled out of mud and sand layers. Many of these rock units laid down in a layer cake manner commonly span thousands of square miles. What's unique about the dinosaurs is that they are found in the very mud and sand that killed them, often twisted about and disarticulated. How could an asteroid impact all the way down in Mexico deposit these extensive mud and sand layers that are hundreds of feet thick and stretch literally for thousands of miles? An asteroid would certainly create a crater on the Earth's surface with mud and sand layers thinning out from the crater, but the actual dinosaur bone layers in the American West remain about the same thickness for hundreds of miles. Noah's flood could do that, but an asteroid would not.
The dinosaurs and all other life forms on the Earth were destroyed by a global flood, and their remains were preserved because the whole world was covered in rock and dirt. And that's the best way to get a fossil, is to quickly and deeply bury it in mud or sediment. And then the sediment with cementing agents in it hardens, and over time you get layers of rock. After the flood, they would have gone extinct because they don't live today, okay? They would have reproduced after the flood and then went extinct sometime after entering into a more hostile environment, or being hunted. A lot of things could factor in to the extinction of the dinosaurs post-flood around 4,500 years ago. It could be that the flood laid down those layers of iridium by launching large amounts of material from the Earth, because of the force of the water that was trapped under the Earth is coming up out of the Earth with enormous pressure, launching huge amounts of Earth from the Earth. A lot of the ones launching out of orbit are going to circle the Earth in orbit and then come back down to the Earth as these meteors, as these asteroids create the impact craters that we see.